Hey everybody, welcome to the first ever F3D PCH show and tell show. Tonight we're doing something a little bit different than we've done before. We've done things kind of similar to it, but this is going to be the beginning of a once a month show and tell stream that anyone from the community can join in, show off the projects that they're working on, techniques that they've developed. That could be techniques in modeling, it could be techniques in finishing, any techniques that you feel you want to share with the community. And it can also be products that you're working on as well that you're looking to bring to market. Not so much a commercial for it, but to show people what's coming and what may be cutting edge. So tonight we're going to do things a little bit different. Just the hosts are going to introduce themselves at the beginning. Each presenter will introduce themselves at the beginning of their presentation. Just a quick update for the Friday Night 3D Printing Community Hangouts. If you would like to join the show and tell in the future, go to f3dpch.com/show and tell, and you can fill out a form there and sign up. That form currently does not have the dates listed. I'm going to update that so that you can sign up for streams. Say you want to sign up for September. I'll set it so that you can actually punch in what date you'd like to join the Friday night hangout. Feel free to fill that out. Don't be shy. The whole point of this is to show the community what the community is doing. As long as you're using 3D printing in some way in your project, doesn't even have to be part of the final part. Come and show it off and tell us about what it is that you're doing. So as far as for myself, I'm Matt Flinchbull. You can follow me on Twitter at Country Cowboy, and I have a YouTube channel that is How I Do It, youtube.com/How I Do It, as well as howidoit.tv. You can follow the Friday Night 3D Printing Community Hangout at f3dpch.com on our website, as well as f3dpch on Twitter. So I'm going to hand it over to Sean to introduce himself tonight as our second co-host.
What's up, world? How you doing? Hope everybody's having a awesome night. This is very, very exciting. The first show and tell of Friday Night 3D Printing Hangout, and I hope you guys enjoy this. This is going to be fantastic. So I am the co-host tonight. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the applause. So my name is Sean Renna. Write that down in your scratchbook because you will need that later. So you can find me at ArtMods Official on Instagram, ArtMods on everything else. Yeah, that's me. I do stuff and things, and I draw, paint, 3D print, and I work for P.O. Poly as their community manager now. So yeah, stop by, say hi, don't be shy. Talk to you soon.
And sorry to everyone who had headphones on. All right.
I liked it.
So tonight we're going to start off with Mike, the Midnight Giant. Mike, what are you up to?
Hello, I'm Mike the Midnight Giant, creator of all kinds of fantasy weaponry, large scale and sometimes normal scale, mostly on the large side. What I'm currently actually working on right now, my biggest project, actually the biggest project I've ever done, is approximately a 17-foot, I guess you could call it a sword. It's more like a cleaver at this point. And I'm actually trying to work with Guinness World Records to see if I can actually beat the current record of, I think it's 15.4 feet. And I'm just edging on 18 feet, and really it's just waiting for them to actually reply and say, all right, let's do this. If they actually want to, they'll hopefully actually be showing up at Earth and doing the full measurements there. Actually, I've got a screen. If I can share my screen, I can show you what it's actually going to look like.
Absolutely. Go for it, Mike.
Let's see here. Oh, there we go. So the thing's actually doesn't look big when it's on the screen. I've actually got I got a photo of myself I'm 6'4" myself. And if I just put, there we go. my happy little face there. And yeah, my largest sword that I've actually created was just above 6 feet. Let's see here. Get that off. That would be my, where was it? Yeah, my large silver sword in the back over here. So I decided, my bud said, "Hey, you printed the BFG. How come you don't have a BFS?" And I said, "Well, I guess I have to make one now." It is going to split in 2 parts. I'm not going to be crazy and try and carry this thing strapped to the top of my van. My luck, the 40 to 45 pounds of plastic's going to come loose and hurtle itself into some poor Prius behind me. I'd rather not have that happen. Some other projects I've got going on, at least for Earth right now, I've got a feet strength test. It's going to be a pretty cool thing. I'm working with 3D Glue with them to come up with something cool for them. I'm doing a diorama of Chaos Cortex Godzilla, both about 200% scale of what his original file is. And then I'm working with Shom to bring another electrified weapon to life. And what was my... No, I think those are my current major projects I've got going on right now, at least for Earth. I've got some other ones in the works, but still in the early stages of those.
Mike, your sword, or BFS, how many pieces will that end up being?
Oh, gosh. Last time I checked, I think I'm in the 34. Yeah, I think I'm 34 pieces into it. And I'm printing this one on the Artemis. I'm lucky enough to have one of the the second White Knight belt printers out there, but currently I like to tinker with stuff too much. So as I'm trying to get that one functional again from my own faults, I'm just getting it going on another printer because it's actually going to take me about another 3 weeks to print out the rest. I have a bit of a handle. Well, I say bit, but I have some of the handle here printed out. I still got another segment. And then I have some guard pieces in the background there on my shelf. So, and then too much work on that one. I'm a glutton for punishment. There's going to be resin inlays in the blade too to give it a different contrast and look to it. I actually want this thing to not just be a giant chunk of plastic. I want it to actually look nice, like some of my other projects I've done.
Do you have an estimated total print time for the sword?
Each chunk or chunklet is usually taking somewhere around 13 to 28 hours, depending on the piece. The more difficult pieces are actually the, I can grab one right here. Is part of the guard itself. And because of all the overhangs and everything on it, this one actually took about 28 hours to print on one. So times by 2, I mean, I could count it all up, but I don't want to waste everyone's time here.
Now, Mike, you print a lot of big stuff. When you're printing, is there any specific print settings that you use as far as, how many perimeters do you print with, infill? Do you have like a standard profile that you use, or does it kind of depend on the part?
Depending on the complexity of the design. So if I have a lot of overhangs or anything like that, I will change the settings, but I end up, all my designs that I post on Thingiverse or on my mini factory, I actually make sure that they don't require supports. So anyone can print them out starting new, or if you're experienced. So you don't have any difficulty with the prints. Like all this in here, this is not what I'm going to be. I don't think anyone's going to be printing something this large. I'll put it out there, but this one does require supports due to me having to put the resin inlay and everything in here, and it's such a straight edge. And not being able to taper it in due to the tight joints and everything, it just ends up making the project look weird.
Gotcha. But primarily anything to avoid support material.
Yeah, and for the infills and perimeters, I'm usually at 2 perimeters. At something large like this, I'm only at 5% infill. I try and keep it as light as possible. Since I actually want to hold these things, I don't want it to just be like, yeah, it's big, heavy chunk of print.
Now, on your Artemis, are you running a .4 nozzle or are you running something larger?
0.5 is usually what I run at.
Okay.
With
Also, does any of our other presenters have questions?
I got a question for you. So, you got Carl there building that White Knight printer. Is that something that you'd be interested in? And I don't know, it seems like you're building a lot of big stuff.
Actually, I'm lucky enough to have my own White Knight. I actually worked with him. Yeah, he actually came to me one day. We were talking on Hangouts, and he's like, "You know what, man? You really need a belt printer." And I'm like, "Yeah, but they're way too expensive from Black Belt." He's like, "Why don't we make one?" I said, "Dude, I will help out as much as I can if we can do one." So he printed one. He made one, and then the second one, all done in my colors, the black anodized aluminum and everything, is now sitting in the next room over. It's just like I said, tinker with stuff too much, and it's done and out right now. It will be back up and running again. It's just for the time crunch that I'm in right now, I need to get all my printers running to keep up for my large prints.
So, Mike, when you get that sword assembled, how do you keep it from breaking off or falling over?
Okay, that one's an easy one. Normally, I'll use threaded rod, 1/4 inch or even 1/2 inch for some of my large prints. I actually have a 1/2 inch rod that goes through my large silver sword over there. But with this one, I'm actually using, let's see if I can get it up. I'm actually using 1/2 inch square tubing on this one. Due to the large scale of it and having to split it in half, the square tubing is giving it a lot more strength than just the metal rod, due to me having tensile strength in both directions where it would normally bend. And where it actually splits in half, it's going to have 2 rods that intersect with each other, and then set bolts that are actually going to hold it from sliding it open. So if someone decides to swing this thing, half the blade just goes shooting off the end.
That sounds like a feature.
Exploding sword.
The problem is
this thing gonna light up or electrocute or shoot tiny harpoons out of the front or?
No, unfortunately, this one I'm thinking about. I just printed the handle out, so I might be able to add some lighting effects into the blade, some spots that someone told me about. But aside from that, it's going to be more of a giant hang over my display.
All right.
It'll sit right next to the BFG once I'm done.
Mad Monkey wants to know in the chat, what's your favorite print so far that you've done?
Shoot. That'd have to be my electric taser axe. It was something. It was actually one of my earlier prints that I did quickly for Halloween. I had like 3 weeks to do it, and someone said, "Why don't you make something crazy?" And just putting my sense of electronics that I've always had, and now being able to make these crazy props for printing, and also seeing the look of fear in everyone's face as they run down my street during Halloween while an executioner is coming at them with an electrified axe. This is the one I had the most fond memories over.
And you design have you designed everything that you've printed, or is there anything that somebody else has designed for you?
On the early stages, I used to, I did like a Master Sword. I downloaded from there. I downloaded some Fluistic models earlier on. I still have a couple of little models that I have from people. But now, when I go to these events, everything I usually have in there is of my own design. So I try and keep close to original of anything that comes to mind. Or I do have a friend of mine who does some cool drawings that he'll be like, "Hey, have you ever thought of making a blade like this?" And I'm like, "All right, give me an hour. Let me see what I can sketch up real quick."
What software are you using for all your designs?
I'm using Fusion 360.
Awesome.
What's the smallest thing you've printed prop-wise?
Prop-wise? Oh, I don't even have it with me. It's actually a small knife, about this big, but I made it with the Protopasta's metal fill.
Yeah, I remember seeing that at Murph.
Those
with
things
the,
are
All
cool.
the knives I have, and I had that design ever since. Oh God, I had to have been seven or eight. I used to draw little knives and stuff, which the nuns didn't really like, but and that was just something I've always had with me all through the years in my notebooks. And I'm like, you know what? Now I've got the chance to do it. Let's bring this thing to life. And it's been one of my little set pieces in my prop shop. So
So this year at Earth, are you having a walk-in booth now? Is that how it's going to always be?
well, unfortunately, it's I am having my normal 10x10. People have joked saying that I should try and get a 20x10 so I can actually have like a full-on blacksmith shop.
That'd be sweet.
So maybe for another event, I'll pony up and get a large thing and just have a whole enclosure.
You need to like 3D print an anvil, like a giant anvil out of plastic.
There's that. I got stained glass windows I want to print out to put in there too.
See?
Actual castle columns.
Yes.
I'm fortified. So these are all things that I want to do them, but my printers can only print so much, and I can only have so many printers in the little room that I've got.
Better Patter, let's get at her. Get that printer up and running. Get that White Knight up.
Oh,
Gotta do it.
try to do 'em. Oh, man.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions for Mike? Any of the presenters? All right, Mike. Do you want to tell everybody if they want to continue to follow what you're up to, best places for them to follow you, support you, anything along those lines?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Thingiverse and My Mini Factory by just looking up Midnight Giant. I'll be there. That's really my only social media outlet, and I don't have anything to support me with as of now. So it's really just, this is more of a hobby than anything else. So it's just, if you want to see any craziness or any dumb ideas that I come up with, just check me out there.
All right, sounds good. Okay, let's move over to our next presenter. We have Ryan Buttram.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ryan Buttram. You'll see me on Twitter as Mr. Buttram or Boiler Ram. I have a YouTube channel that I don't post any new content on, except we've been doing a little Saturday night maker hangout every other Saturday. We'll be having one this Saturday. I said, if you look up Mr. Buttram on YouTube, you'll find me there. But it's just kind of an informal hangout. I put it on YouTube so the people in the chat can still talk to the people that are live. But what I'm here for today is I've been working on a memorial for Mike Whaley, who used to put on a morning 3D printing hangout chat, help fix printers. He passed away June 9th, and we kind of missed him, and I kind of felt like we needed to do something for him, so I thought I'd throw together a community print. Well, I started asking questions on Twitter, and I got a lot of great ideas, and then I got on and I messaged his wife and daughter and asked if they could give me his maker coin. So I got his maker coin, and I thought, well, let's blow this thing up huge, and then we'll cut it up. So I ended up, I got Luban, which is a program that a lot of people use to cut up prints and make them manageable. I was able to get like a 6-month license for it because I've got a .edu email address. And so I cut it up, and then somebody in Twitter had posted that there was a guy, it's 3D Now or 3D Now Printing. I don't think I got that for you, Matt. But he created this website that is specifically for managing community prints. So I messaged him on Twitter, and we just started talking, and he's like, yeah, I just did it for myself. I thought that it'd be useful, but I only have mine running on it right now. So I'm like, well, is there any way we could stand one up? So he helped me out with that. He's hosting it on his server. And it's been pretty cool so far. I can screen share it here. I'll just we'll just go right into that. The screen share going. So what we've got here is kind of the back end of the website. Well, actually, I'll just start with the dashboard. So once you create a user name and you log in, well, it logged me out. All right, so you'd log in, but you'd be able to see all the different parts. There's a way to see those. But there's a way to post pictures of the parts that you printed. Here in a few seconds, it'll load up here, but it'll show the actual STL for the whole original piece. There we go. So you can spin this around and see it. So this is Mike's coin, and this is his actual coin and his logo, and then Robbie Mack helped me out with this, and we created a in memory of. It's kind of hard to see with the gray on here, but it says in memory of, and it's got Mike's birth year and death year. So we did that. Let's see what else. What's really awesome about this is it's just super awesome to manage the community print. Let me go into the admin. So in the admin side, like I can see all the parts, and I can see who took them, and then I can mark them received. And on their end, they would mark when they take them, they're printing it. When it's done and it's shipped, they can mark it shipped, and then I can come in here and mark it received. And then it's just a way so I know that I've got the part, and I know that what part number they have. I'm trying to think of what else. I can look at the users, and I can see how many parts each person has. But yeah, the guy that has built this website, he's a college student in Pennsylvania. So there's users, there's updates. So I can create an update where I can actually, and I did it just this afternoon, I can update everybody that's a part of the project. So it'll send them an email. So I sent an email with a little bit of information saying we're working on that. And I posted this that I was going to be talking about the stream. And then I can manage all the part pictures. So when you make your part shipped, or when you go to ship the part, you can take a picture so we can see all the parts that people have been printing. And it showed up there on the dashboard, I think. And then built in here, there's a forum so people can ask questions and talk about the project. And then there was project settings, so I can upload. This is where I would upload all the STLs, just all the information about the community print. So, and I think that Jack is he's working on getting a website built so that he can actually allow more people to do this. If you want to start a community print, or you have a community print you want to put on. I don't know if there's anything else. I've got some parts. Let me stop sharing here. For some reason, I lost the little stop share. It usually shows up at the bottom. Oh, I'm back. Okay, yeah. Cool. All right, so I got a couple parts. These have already been shipped and marked received, and then this is one that I printed. I kept most of the parts around 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters, so that people with smaller print beds could also participate. Here's another one that I got. This one's kind of neat because if you hold it long enough, it's color changing. It's heat activated. It'll change to pink. But I said, the parts are starting to roll in. I think every part has been claimed as of this afternoon. I checked it right before we came on. They've all been claimed. If they don't get claimed, we'll work on getting those parts back into this site, and I'll let everybody know, probably via Twitter, about how to get them if you want to do more. Like I said, I just got 2 boxes today. John Mack and Tom Lama, they're both in the chat. Theirs showed up today. I've marked one of John Max is received, but I haven't got to llamas yet. So
Very cool.
So 3D Gunslinger or Gusner. I'm sorry, not Gunslinger. I jumped the gun there. I thought he was a cowboy. That's my fault. He asked, "How do you slice them? Tolerances, numbers, joints." So,
all right. So I don't have Luban on this laptop. But, basically, what you do is you load the giant STL in, and then in Luban you can set all of those things. You can allow for tolerances, but you can go in and you can tell it how many cuts and on what axes you want. So with this one, I made the maker coin like 700 millimeters by 700 millimeters. I loaded it in, and then there's a cut portion in Luban where you can go in, and I wanted it cut like once in the Z-axis, like 7 in the X-axis, and 8 in the Y-axis. And then it goes in and it cuts all of them, and then it spits out a folder that has every one of those parts, and they're all labeled with like the X, Y, and Z coordinates. So it'll be easy to go in and put it all together later. But you can go in and you can adjust the tolerances and stuff like that.
Did you take any considerations into people's tolerances of their printers? How did you decide to deal with that?
Yeah, I didn't. And I know that you can run into a lot of problems with that. I'll just kind of see where it goes. I don't know. And I know Alien Slacker Josh with the 12-foot Alien, he ran into a lot of problems with it. But his parts were huge. Like they were almost all like 12 inches by 12 inches. So I'm hoping that because they're smaller parts, I'll have less issues with tolerances and stuff.
It's something when we did the Friday night community build. That was one of my biggest concerns, and I went with a 0.3 tolerance on the parts, figuring, some people are going to be down at 0.1, 0.2, others might be 0.4, 0.5, and I just hoped everything would offset itself. And
right.
It did turn out to be good. Now, like when we put it together, now that was just a single flat print. And when we put it together, we started to realize that as we built the logo, it's supposed to be completely flat. And the one side was starting to kind of curl up as we put the pieces together, even though we were keeping them in line and everything. At some point through the build, Martin and I just made the decision. We just dropped them back down to the table and continued to glue it away.
Right. Yeah. And it's, I guess, hopefully it's not a huge issue. And I've only got, 100 parts, and they're, like I said, none of them are bigger than about 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters. If I have to, I've got a belt sander, and we will make them fit. Yep. I'm not above it. Sean asked me. I'm going to look. There's the guy that Sean, I think it's Sean, not Sean, Jack Pinkstone. He's 3D now, or 3D printing now. I'll look it up, but I'll post it in the chat here in a minute. He's got a community print going right now, and he's kind of stalling out with the people that they took the pieces, but they haven't printed them. And he's got a lot of pieces that aren't picked yet. So if you want to still participate in a community print, I'll get that in the chat here in a minute. So if people watching, oh, there he is. He's in the chat right now. Maybe he can post it.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. He's now moderated, so if he'd like to post it, he can.
Okay, cool. But yeah, so like I said, he's a he's a great guy. He's been helping me, and I've been helping him because we're kind of beta testing some features of the site that I found problems with, or issues, or stumbling blocks. So when we catch those, he can go ahead and actually make changes to the site live. So it's been pretty awesome.
The screen share you showed of it before the stream and during the stream, it looks really well put together.
Oh yeah,
when I did the Friday night logo, I literally had printouts of the logo with the grid on it, and as I was going, I was using like bingo daubers in different colors to signify that this part was sent out. This part was, I got confirmation that it was printed. I had a different color for that. I had one for shipped, and then I had one for received. The fact that, now the person printing kind of has some control over that, and it takes it out of the hands of the organizer to get that confirmation that, okay, somebody claimed a part. The organizer doesn't have to do anything for that part. The organizer doesn't have to do anything for updating the status to printed or shipped. The only thing you have to do is, yep, I received it. Like that would have been so helpful.
Yeah.
I really like seeing this put together.
It's awesome. And I think it's going to help a lot of people do community prints going forward. When he gets it to the point where you can just kind of run your own, it'll be awesome.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. What's some of the, you mentioned good and bad about the software? What's some of the, let's say, not to point fingers, but what's some of the worst things that you came across throughout the process of beta testing it, so to speak?
For this, I think one of the toughest parts for me was that you had to load each part in individually. So I had to, I named the part, picked the STL, and then uploaded it. And I talked to him, and he was thinking about how we could batch load all the parts in, which it's possible. It's just it wasn't built in yet. And one of the things I found for him, it was a bug, was you would load a part, and then it would take you to another part of the site. So then I'd have to do 3 clicks to get back to load the next part, and it would take me to other parts of the site. So I did that, for all like 100 and whatever 8 parts or something in there. So, but he, like I said, that was one of the things I caught. And like I said, hey, every time I load a part, it does this, and then he's like, oh yeah, I can fix that. So people won't have that issue when they go to do their own. So
I don't know if I can ask a question of 3D now. He's in the chat there, but
Yep.
Are any plans to incorporate like the slicing of a part into your software? So it's kind of like a one-stop shop. You import your large STL, it cuts everything, and then you can manage your community print.
We'll give him a minute.
Yeah.
He saw that you were going to ask a question. We'll give him a minute to answer that one. What's one of your favorite things that you saw with the software or with the web interface?
With me, I mean, just the fact that I see everything. Like I see every one of the users, and I got their emails, and I can see how many parts they picked and what number they picked. So if they don't mark it, I can mark it when I get it in, like what part number it is, as opposed to just guessing. Like if I got a box of parts, and I'll be able to go to I can't see it now, but like there, you can go in and you can preview every part. So I can look at the number, I can go preview that part, and I can make sure that that's the part they printed and mark it if I have to. But I just having like being able to step back and seeing like the forest through the trees kind of thing, where it's not just a piece of paper that I got to go in and make a check mark or anything. It's just, I can pull up the site, I can see it all, click it, and we're good to go. Just being able to step back and see the whole image.
And I don't know if you answered it while you were describing or showing everything off, Ryan. I know I asked you beforehand. Is there any plan for if a set of parts don't show up, or somebody decides, hey, I know I took this, but I'm not going to be able to get it printed for you in time. Is there any backup plans to get those parts printed?
I haven't approached that part yet. I think if there is an issue with that, I can pull the parts from those people and put them back on so they can be available. If that happens, I'll get on Twitter and I can make a post and see if anybody else wants to grab some. But we've had a lot of people that, when I tried to limit it to like 1 part per person for the first like week or 2, everybody was asking, hey, I want more than 1 part. Like I want to print, let me print more. So I think that if there is an issue, I think there's more than enough people that'll step up and help finish it out. And I guess I didn't talk about what the goal of it is I'm going to assemble it, and I'm going to have it at MRF 2020, and we're going to display it there. And then once it's displayed there, I'm hoping that Brenda and Candy, his Mike's wife and daughter, show up. Like they've talked about coming. Because Candy's still 3D printing. I've talked to her on Discord. I helped her with a couple projects that she was working on. But hopefully they show up and we can just present it to them. And if not, I'll either deliver it or I'll find a way to mail a 700 millimeter by 700 millimeter maker coin. So that's the ultimate goal, is to get it assembled and get it to MRF. So I think I gave enough time for the project so that if there is issues, we can get them printed. Like I said, it happened so fast. I only got to print one part. So if any of them come back, I can try to print one.
To answer the question of if 3D Now, what was his name?
I think it's Jack.
Jack. If Jack was planning on adding that you could do like a one-stop shop basically with the service where you upload the full STL and it does all the splitting. The answer to that was he definitely can add that feature, but it will definitely be hard. The back end of the server right now is not ready for that kind of processing, but definitely in the future. So that would be really cool there. And then I had a question for Jack, and if you want to answer it in the chat, Ryan, I kind of asked you beforehand if there was like a, so to speak, a waiting list that you could sign up for, that if parts do become available, you can get an email or text message notification of some sort to tell you, hey, if you want to print something, there are now parts available. I know, Ryan, you said that's not currently available on the service as far as you're aware.
Nope. But I bet if we asked it, Jack will probably hook us up with it.
Yep.
Or if not, you can always DM me on Twitter, and then I'll get back to you then, and when or if the parts end up going back up on the site. So,
does any of the presenters or Sean, do you guys have any additional questions for Ryan?
I just want to say, Ryan, what you're doing is amazing. I don't know any other word for it, but it's fantastic. And the one thing I really like about you, of the many things I like about you, but really it's just only one thing I really like about you, is how relaxed you always are and calm you always are. And yeah, you are. You're very presentable and very chill. But your heart is very loud and very vibrant. And I really love that about you. And you're doing something, and you're making a difference in maybe not the whole world, but in people's hearts to remember somebody. And even if people don't know who this was, they will. And they'll know the impact that he made upon the community and upon people. And he might not be a celebrity or a well-known person, but it's the heart of the community that is reached the most through across humanity. And I think you are encompassing that. I think this project is fantastic, and you should really be proud of yourself for that. I applaud you, and I think the whole community should applaud you for that. You're doing something very, very awesome and heartwarming, and it's really great. So
thank you, Sean. No, I've said this before. This is the least that I can do for Mike. I mean, he entertained us, and he was a great guy. He was a heck of a friend. So, like I said, this is the least that we could do to in his honor.
If any parts come back, Ryan, save us one. We delayed. I was going to get one within the next week. I had no idea it was going to go so fast.
Yeah, I had no clue either. I was surprised. I thought it would be a slow roll, and then the next thing I know, they're all gone.
Yeah, I just got some nice silky filament in for a commission we were doing, and it was going to be. Just let me know. We definitely like at least one.
There you go. I part of me actually thought that if we had enough interest, that maybe we'd put the parts back up in print too. So if there is enough interest, or if a lot enough people want to do it, I have no problem with it. Assembling too is not a big deal. So
It would be neat if we could get one at Earth as well. Get both of these.
Yeah, see, and people were like, "Why don't you display it at Earth?" And I was like, I'm not going to Earth, so it'd be harder for me to do that. But if I can get it built, maybe we can send it with somebody or find a way to get it there. And I
Why are you
know
going to Earth?
everybody asks.
I said all these nice things about you,
I
and now
know.
you're not going to Earth.
I would love to go to Earth, but it's a financial thing and a time thing. My wife wants to take a real October break with the kids, and it's going to happen on a week that's not at Earth. So we definitely talked about it, but it's like it's 11-hour drive here, 10 or 11-hour drive. So I would do it in a heartbeat, but
Ryan, if you get enough interest to do a second one, get in touch with me. Maybe I'll get it put together, get it down to Earth, and we'll display it at the Friday night booth.
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. If there's no other questions for Ryan, we'll move on to Sholm. Okay. Sholm, the floor is yours. What are you guys up to? You're still muted.
Okay,
There
my
you go.
bad. Yeah, I had to unmute it. I didn't know I was going next, but I'm next. All right. So we're father and sons 3D printing, modeling, design business, fully encompassed. We're doing a lot of architectural rendering and designs here lately. If you have an idea you want to bring to life, PM us through Twitter. You can find us on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, although we've only done a couple things on there, so not so much. Projects I was going to show off tonight. Here, I'll show off this little one we just did. Mike, when we did this over there, Midnight Giant, Mikey, when we did this, we thought of you the whole time. This would be one awesome collaboration. This is a Tesla gun from Call of Duty, what is it, World War II?
Yeah, zombies.
Zombies. My boys just run around frying zombies with this thing. Jason did this. He started on our live stream last week. He finished it up this week. We printed a small one. How awesome would that be electrified, Mike? That's right up your alley, my friend.
We'll have to talk about that one.
Anyhow, so the project that we hope to display at Orlando Maker Faire coming up in November is our IG-88. He's going to be about 5'4" when it's all said and done. We have a base we designed to put him up. It's going to bring him up to about 6'8", just to stand above the crowd. Got all the parts printed except for the base. It's just a matter of assembling everything now. And this is heavy. I mean, this is like 50% infill on this foot. This thing is almost solid all throughout here. It's a lot of plastic, a lot of 3D glue, and still a lot of work to go. It's a shame we're not more knowledgeable with electronics, or we would have done something really awesome with it. This is a quarter of the body I got assembled so far. So besides Mike, is anybody else working on some really big projects right now?
I have one working on with Printed Solid as they're sponsoring the filament for us for our my local fire department. We do an open house on National Fire Prevention Week in October, and
That's awesome.
this year the NFPA picked the theme "Not Every Hero Wears a Cape." So we're bringing the superheroes to our open house, and we're going to include the superheroes in our demos and everything. And I'm 3D printing helmets and like Captain America's shield, Thor's hammer, all kinds of different stuff. We're going to have some of the high school drama club kids dress up as the superheroes for us.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, speaking of which, Jason, hand me the Stormbreaker up there. You know, our Stormbreaker's on Gum Road. But if you're doing something like that, Matt, I'd gladly send it to you for free.
Okay.
And all our stuff's like $2 on there either way. But here's a finished version of that.
Nice.
We revamped it from our version from last year and really tweaked it.
Very cool. Now,
It's all cut up, spliced up. You can print this with no supports.
did you guys, is the handle painted or did you just print that in brown PLA?
No, this is all painted and finished and XTC'd.
Okay.
That's why it's got a little shimmer to it. It's amazing how much of a bad butt you feel like with a little piece of plastic in your hand. Yeah, I really like that project you're doing. Let us know if we can do any kind of design or something we got. We'd gladly help out with that.
Okay.
Definitely can't thank the men and women that serve our country in all forms enough. So we're down with that.
Made that show. So while you're showing your stuff off,
What's
Uh,
that?
while you're showing everything off, when did you and your boys start modeling for 3D printing?
Well, we started a skewed view a couple years ago. Hopefully this year we will actually make some kind of profit. I don't care if it's $5, something, you know. What started it all, Shom about 6, 7 years ago. He came home from school one day and he brought home this little 3D printed piece of rocket they did in class. He still has it in his desk, and that started everything. I mean, the excitement in his eyes and on his face, it was infectious and got me into it. And at the time I was an architectural drafter, designer, but I was hustling toys on the side, and we got out of that and just jumped into 3D printing. Shom had some actual schooling for it. Jason, he was part of it, but he was kind of jealous of Shom doing all this design, all the accolades that went with it. He just kind of jumped into Fusion, self-taught himself, watched a lot of Lars videos, and just kept at it. And he's over a year now, and he's come a long way.
Very cool. And you guys are using, your boys are using what, Fusion or?
We use actually a number of programs. Some of our early house stuff I did and MakerCoin stuff. There's just never enough time in a day. We use SketchUp. Jason does a lot in Fusion. Shom does a lot in Maya, some in Inventor. A lot of our renderings are done in Unreal Engine, some in Blender.
Wow, very cool. So they're learning a pretty good broad.
Yeah, we definitely got a wide selection. It's a rainbow assortment.
Now, do you guys use different pieces of software for different parts of a single prop, or once you start it, let's say in Fusion, do they do the whole thing in Fusion, or?
Usually, we have had, I think Shom had 2 different things. He revamped old designs, and they started, I think, in Inventor and retweaked or topped in Maya. Now, we do run across that with the architectural models when it comes to rendering. Like right now, we're doing a 2-story for Diamond Homes, and we already did the 3D model. We printed it, and now we're doing a rendering. He's having to retopple everything in Maya. It was originally done in Inventor, and then from there, take it into Unreal Engine and start all the rendering process.
Cool.
So, Shom, there's no questions yet from the chat, but a question for you is, we now know how you got into 3D printing. What is your background, and how does that affect your 3D printing, and how do you implement that into your 3D prints?
Well, I grew up on a construction site. I got injured about 14 years ago. I had to be reschooled. Who knew I had gray matter, apparently. So now I've been an architectural drafter and designer for about 12 years. So we do a lot of that. We're incorporating. We're working on our website right now. We're putting a portfolio together with 3 or 4 houses that are fully modeled, rendered, printed to display, and we're working on 3 different estimates right now. So hopefully that takes off. My son, he is actually a drafter for a high-end cabinet company, the oldest. And Jason, he doesn't know what he wants to do yet, but he's definitely jumped all in with the 3D design.
Cool. And you said you're with your architectural stuff that you have printed the designs, printed models of the design.
I've done half a dozen of them based on actual houses that I've done at my office.
That's cool. That's a neat, a different field that can utilize 3D printing to show off, rather than just pictures, show off the actual model of what they create.
And I think the models are awesome, but I think the renderings as well. Like right now, there's a business in town. They want to purchase 2 houses behind their business. They have to go before the homeowners association. They want us to do a rendering, a full virtual, probably 2 or 3 different renderings to show what it's going to look like, to make sure it's not really going to interfere with the neighborhood too much. And they got all the hedges and the trees, and so that's going to be an interesting project to do.
Cool.
So Ryan Krams wants to know, or Krames, I'm sorry, wants to know what's going on in the Pellet Grill tomorrow.
What is it?
He wants to know what's going on in the Pellet Grill tomorrow.
Yeah, I post stuff with our grill on, well, I would say 4 or 5 times a week because we're always grilling or smoking or barbecuing something. Nothing. It was a gift. I got it from my birthday this year from my parents. We use it all the time. I did not 3D print it, nor is any of the food 3D printed. The same.
That's okay. It's food. It counts.
I'm going to put a link here for one of our latest things we just put up on Gumroad, since I can have a shameless plug.
Sure.
And look, oh, that's right. I'm not a. Really? How am I out here and I'm not a moderator?
We selectively do it, like when people have want links.
I would selectively not choose me too.
Punch something in the chat real quick, show them, and I'll mod you.
Okay, let me here. There you go.
All right, now you can post your link.
All right. So that is the link for this, which we just did. Again, my boys are huge Call of Duty fans. This is another Call of Duty design. Jason, what's this one from? Black Ops 3?
Yes.
This is Fury Song Sword. They'd never forgive me if I didn't get any of these names right. This thing is just, this thing is so sweet. Again, who's Conan? What? Oh, man.
Conan. That's what you need to do. You need to do some Conan, some He-Man.
There's Conan and
G.I. Joe.
Gumroad. Actually, I just dropped like 5 or 6 of our designs on Gumroad for free. He-Man's one of them. RoboCop's Auto 9. They're all cut up, spliced up. You can print the props, no supports. Go check us out on Gumroad.
Cool. Show them, when you guys are printing, do you have any specific print settings that you like to use for the props? Or is it?
It depends if it's big, little. The big stuff, we have our Tornado. We bought a new Tornado. It's modded with a mosquito hot end, a 6mm Vandanium. Wow, I think I got it right. Nozzle. That thing just shoots out plastic. I mean, it's crazy. Jason, hand me the 2 crosses over there.
All right.
That thing is a dream. I had one of those Ruby nozzles. That thing just kept jamming up. It was one of the, the high temp ones, the longer ones. After a bunch of headaches for a month with my buddy John, Graybeard 3D. Go check him out if you haven't. We finally got hooked up and it just kept jamming. So we went with the Mosquito, hooked it up to the old Tornado. It kept having issues, the Tornado, not Mosquito. And I finally just bought a new one. It prints like a dream. Perfect example. This is a cross design we did a couple weeks back. Our buddy Paul Cumber sent a picture he found online. We really liked it. It's got the cross, the thorns in the middle, the nails on the side and the top. This right here, these 2 halves, the JG Aurora A5S, 7.5 hours to print that, which isn't bad. This one here on the Tornado upgraded 6.5 hours for both halves. So, I mean, that just never ceases to amaze me. It definitely shoots out some plastic. Oh, that's on Thingiverse for free, just saying. Great gift for anyone, any occasion. Shameless plug.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions for Shulman? last call in the chat. And if you guys do in the chat have questions, I think everybody's pretty much watching the chat. So even after a presenter's done, if you do have questions for them, go ahead and post it in the chat. And if they're in there, they'll try to answer it for you. All right.
Ask some questions, guys. Come on, ask some questions.
No, they all know me. They got no questions for me.
Shom, do you want to tell everybody one more time where they can find you guys, where they can find your designs, how they can support you?
You can find me everywhere. Let's look up Askew View 3D on YouTube, on Twitter. PM me. You got an idea you want to bring to life? That's what we do. If we can't do it, guaranteed we'll point you in the right direction.
Nice. All right. We're going to go ahead and move over to our last presenter, Terry.
Hey, yeah, I'm Terry. I'm on Twitter, I guess, Terry De. It's spelled funny, Thierry. I think some people know who I am anyways. I'm not Theory, I'm Terry, but call me whatever. Matt brought me on because I've been posting some of these coasters here. I've been 3D printing for just over a year, I guess. I'm a lot more amateur with this stuff than some of these other presenters have been. I've been doing this sort of for fun, and I make knickknacks for myself and a little bit of design stuff, but nothing really fancy. I try to make practical stuff, fix my own problems at home, make hangers, make brackets, and try and help with the community too. I'm in a pretty small town in the middle of nowhere, Canada, and I probably have the only two 3D printers within 300 kilometers. So it's still sort of, you say 3D printer around here and people sort of give you blank stares. But it's, I've been having a blast, and I found a really good community here. There's a lot of people in the chat and on the stream here, and I don't know, I'm having a blast with it. But here's kind of what Matt brought me on to show, I guess. I tried loading these pictures up to screen share, but they haven't been working there. But I've been making these coasters. I have an MP CNC, so mostly printed CNC. And I thought I'd try making printed parts and inlaying them in some wood. So I don't know how well you can see, but like they're pretty well inlaid in there. And I started toying with that idea a while back. I started making stuff like this on my CNC, so just like a, I don't know, crib board. And I wanted a way to make a spot for the pegs basically underneath, like you'd see in a typical crib board. And I was having a real hard time finding the tolerances to get them to fit. I don't know if you guys can see that okay. But yeah, so that's kind of where the idea came from. And then Bill 3D Enigma, I think is what he goes by on Twitter, posted this tree, and I thought it was pretty cool and thought it would make a good poster. And since then, I've made a few other ones. I'm hoping to send a package here to Australia. So this one's for Kathy on Twitter, and I think everybody knows Wellbot. And I've been posting this stuff on Twitter, so if you follow me there, you'll see all that stuff. And yeah, and JT, he just left the chat there, I think. But him and I have been discussing a couple other different methods, and a couple other people have made some suggestions as well. So a CNC piece of wood or coaster or whatever, and then some people have suggested taking like a clothes iron to the top of these to make them shiny or flat. And JT had a neat idea of taking some like just PLA pellets, I guess. So I cut up some PLA, and I'll post some more pictures on Twitter here so you can sort of see. But basically, I threw those in the in a toaster oven, and I I melted them, and they took on the shape, and it turned out pretty good. I need a bit of work yet on that, but I'll post the process, I guess. Maybe I'll make a video, but I'm a little more nervous with that stuff. So yeah, so that's sort of what I've been working on. I use Fusion 360 to do the modeling of the coasters, and then sometimes I use Fusion 360 for the cam work, which is kind of nice, using the same program for the modeling and the cam. And sometimes I use EaselCam, which is it's a free cam software that V1 Engineering, who designed the MPCNC, recommended. So that's sort of the first cam system I've used. Yeah, that's pretty well all I have to say about it, I guess. But hopefully there's some questions, or if anybody's interested in that stuff, I guess.
So the very first question I thought of when I saw your coasters is, with 3D printing and interlocking pieces, like we were talking to Ryan about the community print and tolerances between from one part to the next. Can you describe a little bit how you're dealing with that? Because you're going from one medium that's additive manufacturing to another one that's subtractive manufacturing. What kind of considerations do you have for your tolerances, or did you just kind of wing it and it worked?
Yeah. Well, okay. So first I winged it. Is that a word? Winged it. That's the first thing I did. So I had, for the most part, like for the cribbage board, I was using an 1/8 inch, or like I don't know what it is, a 1.75 millimeter end mill, and so it's similar to a 3D printer, where if you're using a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, it's tracing that outline, and you're getting a 0.2 millimeter on either side of a line. And in some cases, your tolerances can be better, like 0.1 or whatever, depending on the printer you're using. And the way I understand it with CAM is it's doing something similar. So you're tracing a line, and depending on the size of your bit, you have some sort of overlap. But there's all sorts of different cuts that you can do. And I actually found that learning CAM was like learning to model all over again. Like it was, there was pretty steep learning curve there. There's different, you can trace, you can do part cuts, you can do islands, you can do all sorts of different things there. So there was a lot of experimenting. What I found is what I'm best at doing is, for the printed parts, is printing them as is. I know the tolerances of both my printers, and then what I do is I add the tolerance on the CNC cut, or on the cam portion. And I found that actually just adding 0.2 millimeter tolerance, so pretty similar to what you would use on 3D printing, works well. Now I've gone from using an 1/8 inch end mill to using a 0.6 millimeter end mill, and I wish I had a picture I could show of that end mill, because it's tiny. The first time I used it, actually, I'm going to try sharing my screen here. But yeah, the first time I used it, I didn't think it would make even a 1/2 inch cut there. Oops. That's going to be wonky here for a sec.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's can you guys see that?
Yep.
So that's the end mill that I'm using. You can see how small it is. I mean, anybody that 3D prints knows what 0.6 millimeter looks like, but basically all those coasters, that's the end mill that I'm using, instead of like an 1/8 inch, or like you can go pretty big. You can use regular router bits there as well. Am I done screen sharing?
Yep. Yeah, it just went off.
Yeah. Okay.
So so tiny, it looks like the very first thing you try to cut, you'd snap it right off.
Yeah, well, I did actually. So I lost one end mill, and I was cutting at the same speed as I would with an 1/8 inch bit. So I learned quick to slow it right down. So I'm cutting it like I believe I've got it like 15 millimeters per second basically cut, and I'm only cutting like 0.8 millimeters per pass. So so it takes a while. Like this coaster, I think, was about a 2-hour pass on the CNC. The tree is a 3.5 hour cut on the mill. Something I didn't mention is because I was just testing this 0.6 millimeter end mill, I didn't feel like changing the bit halfway through. Like, you can change tools as you go. So a lot of these, I actually cut the circle out on a bandsaw and then also cut it. So they're not perfectly flat, but it's a learning process. So they're getting a lot better every time I make one, and I'm hoping to make them so I can sell them in town or show them off or give them away or whatever. So that's kind of the idea. But yeah,
Jerry, there's a question from the pool of people. So Paul Poxtelis. I can't pronounce your last name, and I apologize, and I feel real bad. So Mr. Pauly over here wants to know, what are the dimensions on your MPCNC, and how do you like it?
well, it's I don't know if you're using millimeters or metric or imperial, but it's 24 by 24 inches. So that'd be 60 centimeters by 60 centimeters. And you can go bigger or smaller very easily. Just basically by cutting new tubing, extending some belts, you can change the dimensions. And I love it. It's I think I built it for under $400 Canadian, so that's like $50 US. No, it's like it's like yeah, it's like, I think he says something like, if you're buying all the kits, the kit from V1 Engineering, you're probably about $400 US. I'm an electrician, so I've got access to EMT and like the nuts and bolts and all that. So I got a lot of that stuff for quite a bit cheaper. I also, I bought a Rambo board. I bought all my electronics straight from V1, and I know like Ryan is building an MPCNC. Actually, a few people are. I think in the chat even. Yeah. And you can
Terry's
build them.
He's one of the reasons why I've got an MPCNC sitting on my floor here that's not done yet.
No,
he's an inspiration because he posts on Twitter all the time. Him and Mike Pixels Prototype. They're posting a lot of really cool stuff with their MPCNCs.
And Mike, like you mentioned him there, he does. I wish I had his Twitter handle there actually. Yeah, he makes some really cool stuff. Like he's a pro with his, but I know there's like Teaching Tech is a pretty popular YouTube channel, and he's building the lowrider, and it's by the same guy, Ryan, at V1 Engineering. Similar idea, but a larger scale, and yeah, they're like, I think you can cut the same on an MPCNC as you could with like a $3,000 CNC. Like you can really build it if you do a good job building it. You keep everything square. You can put a decent tool on it, and you're in business. So I've only been using it for a few months, and it's really, once you sort of start playing around with it, it's just like 3D printing. It becomes sort of second nature. You know what your machine can do, what it can't. And but it's pretty fun mixing the two, though, the 3D printing and the CNC. Just starting thinking about different projects and whatever else. So
I love the mixed medium, mixing the 3D printing, the CNC router. And, you know, knowing now that you are doing that with an MPCNC actually has put the MPCNC back higher on my list of things to do.
Yeah.
Because the moment you said that you only give a 0.2 tolerance on the CNC cut for the 3D print to fit, and it fits good, I mean, that's basically the same tolerance I'm shooting for interlocking pieces on my printers. So the fact
Exactly.
it's that accurate, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, it's super accurate. And I mean, like, I've been cutting with mine for a few months now, and like, I haven't done any maintenance on it. Like, I could be cutting way tighter tolerances, I think, if I put a little, like, if I put a square on it. You can get like the dual end stop is something he talks about. I like, you're supposed to square it up every time, and like, I don't. I'm bad for that. Like, I'll load up a program. I'm all excited to get it going. I zero the Z. I'm Canadian, so it's a Z. And yeah, I hit print. I hit go on the CNC, and away it goes. So yeah, if you're thinking about building one and you have the room, and I think that's probably the number one reason people aren't building them is this: you need the space to build it. And I had room in my basement right next to my 3D printers, and if you talk to my wife about how she feels about having a CNC router in the house in the basement, you'll know why it's in the garage now. And also, don't put it next to your 3D printers. It'll trash your filament. So yeah.
Ryan Krams asked in the chat a little bit ago. Apologize, Ryan, for not getting to your question right away. He asked if you've had any luck with aluminum on the MPCNC, and I'm going to broaden that question just a little bit. What other materials besides woods have you tried on the MPCNC so far?
Sure. So I haven't tried aluminum yet. I know it's capable of cutting aluminum. There's plenty of videos out there of the MPCNC cutting aluminum. If you do a YouTube search for MPCNC, you'll see a ton of different, like, pretty cool cuts and time lapses, and there's lots of information on them. So I know it'll do it. And that DeWalt 660 is the recommended tool. It's just like a 5 amp zip cut, really, is what it is. But it's got plenty of power. There's more powerful tools that people do use. So I know it'll cut aluminum. There's talk of it cutting steel. I don't know that I would try it on that, but
I think
you have to cut awfully slow.
Ryan from V1 was at Murph, and he actually had a piece that he'd cut with his MPCNC's piece of steel. So
yeah, like, I know it's possible, but I don't think I'd attempt it myself.
And one of the things I was going to say, like the V1 Engineering website, there's a forum, and there's guys on there that are taking their MPCNCs and making them 3D printers.
Yeah, like, you can do.
You just add a hot end.
Yeah, like, my goal when I first got it, I didn't have. I only had a CR10 at the time. I didn't have my Ender, and when I decided to go with the MPCNC because I could turn it into a 3D printer. I quickly found out that using a CNC router with wood and wood chips and the sawdust, it would make a very poor 3D printer multi-tool CNC. I think if it was dedicated 3D printing, you could build a large volume 3D printer in a hurry with it, if that's what you were using it as, like, if you were using it as a dedicated platform, I guess. But as far as the second question goes, as to what I have cut with it, I don't know if you can see this, but I built that for my kids. So it's just like a little maze. I've got a little ball bearing on the inside, but there's a piece of acrylic. I don't know if you can see it shining there. So that was all cut with the MPCNC. I took a piece of MDF, cut it down. I 3D modeled everything in Fusion. I used the CAM in Fusion to do that. So it's a piece of cake then. All your parts are there, and you just do multiple setups, and away you go. And it cut the acrylic great. So There's a ton of information out there on cut speeds and feed rates and everything. So I see Ryan Krams there just said you can put a laser on it. I actually had a laser, and JT, he is still in the chat there. I made JT a coaster, and I sent it to Murph, and he picked it up there. And his, I wish I had a picture of it actually, but his coaster turned out pretty good. I made it out of oak, and I put cork on the back. I didn't show you guys this, but I do cork on the back of these coasters. I just use like a spray adhesive. And but on his, anyways, I had a little laser, and I laser etched some stuff on the back. And yeah, so you can definitely put a laser on it, and that's the plan. I blew up my laser, so it wasn't my finest moment as an electrician, but yeah, I blew it up. So yeah, there you have it.
Does anybody else on the panel have questions for Terry while we're at it? Sean does. He's doing something.
Well, no questions, but I really like the cork idea. I mean, that's good on a couple different aspects.
Yeah,
Just
there's a ton of uses for it, and it's such an easy material to work with. Like, I don't know, you can cut it with a knife, you can laser etch it, it glues to just about anything.
What are you gluing it with?
I use Elmer's spray adhesive, and I buy it. I have a roll here, so like I buy these great big rolls of it, and I just take the spray adhesive, put it on the back of the coaster, put something heavy on top, and wait like 20 minutes. You can cut it out, and away you go. And you probably can't see it, but I round the edges, just using basically like a sand wheel on a rotozip, and it sands it nice and smooth. It's such an easy product to work with.
So I don't have a question, but I have a statement. So have you, well, I guess it's a question. I'll put it into a question because this is where questions are made. So have you ever thought of getting a crucible and melting your failed prints into that crucible and then actually pouring it into that negative that you are milling out?
Okay, so yeah, you're getting really close to the stuff JT and I have been talking about. So that's something I'm thinking about. I've got a little toaster oven, which is going to have to do because I don't have a crucible. But I was thinking of just taking a ceramic pot and yeah, taking some failed prints or just some spare filament and cutting into little pieces, heating it up, melting it, and dipping it in. And like I see JT saying, we did that the other day. So he's talking about this, which is essentially the same thing. I'm taking little bits of plastic of used filament, and I put it. I did the CNC cut. So that's not printed. I don't know if I said that before or not, but you can sort of see how chunky that is. I turned a toaster oven up to 200 degrees Celsius, and I thought I'd be waiting for about a half an hour, and about 2 minutes later, I saw fumes coming out of the toaster. So I went and checked it, and apparently it only takes about 2 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
Yeah. So, and my mistake, I think, is that I used too large of chunks. So maybe taking some PLA and putting it in a blender and making those pieces a little bit smaller so to get them stuffed into all the corners is the answer. But I just have some more playing with it. But
so here's something I was thinking about while you were presenting your stuff and talking because my brain works all the time. I don't understand why. I mean, I don't hear half
You're alive.
what you're saying. Well, half. So once you melt all that plastic, you can even do it in like a cast iron skillet, like over a fire outside. Since you say you live in the country, you can just build something, in your yard if it's legal. I don't know.
Nobody checks nothing here. Yeah.
Everything's legal in Canada. So anyway, so So once you do that and you get your mixture of plastic all melted up and you pour it in, there's a couple things that you could do. One is take other bits of plastic. It doesn't have to be, it could be whatever colors, doesn't matter, and actually just like stick it into that molten plastic. And once you do that, and even if you don't do that, the next step you could do is take it on a belt sander and grind it all down flat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
A nice even texture on there, a nice flat surface. And if you do add those other colors, it'll look real neat, especially if it's sanded down, because you'll have little spots of color everywhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of different possibilities. I think, like using the two. Like something with these is like I haven't been cutting all the way through, and that was another thing I was thinking is I could cut all the way through the coaster and do something similar then. So fill the space with plastic, heat it up, and then you could use clear filament or whatever, and then you'd have some sort of a mosaic. So, okay, so JT gave me permission here to talk about what we've been discussing. We're going kind of back and forth. So this JT was thinking there's this product, and I don't know if we probably all used it when we were kids. And actually, JT, can you say the name of it? I can't think of it here right now, but it's those little crystals, and you'd put them in the oven for 20 minutes, half hour, whatever, and they would come with like these little lead frames, and you'd take a suction cup, put it on the back, and stick it on your window. Mm-hmm. What JT was thinking, or make it and bake it. That's what he says there. So he's thinking maybe taking some just PLA printing the outline, buying this make it and bake it crystals in bulk, which he found you can actually buy, and just trying different things, I guess. But even with wood or with PLA or with whatever. So the mixed media stuff, it definitely opens up more possibilities. There's some interesting stuff you can do there for sure. So,
and I think the rough edges that you have on there, like it's not completely concentric.
No,
you have those rough edges. Like that is like, I don't know about in Canada, but in the United States, that's like a big thing. Like people want customized things that aren't like anything anybody else has. Like, people are real hipster about stuff now. Like it's real weird.
Yeah, no, there's definitely like this one here. I cammed the circle, and so that was cut with the MPCNC with an 1/8 inch bit. So I did the JT, the lettering. I did with a 0.6 millimeter. I paused. I did a tool change, and then I cut the circle out. So you can see how like that's a circle. This one here I cut with a bandsaw, and like it's pretty good, but it's definitely homemade. It's not cut with a CNC. So, and at first I was kind of like, I don't know, I should really like get that going, but I do, like, I agree with you. Like it's definitely has, if you look at the thickness here, it is not even. I cut that on my bandsaw, like, I was just doing it in a hurry to get the testing done. Like what I was testing was, can I get a consistent tolerance, I guess, was a big thing. Can I do this every time? Design an STL or design a model, print it, and throw it into CAM, cut it out, and put that in. Just tap it in lightly with a hammer and have it stick. Like there's no glue or anything in these. They're tapped in with a mallet, and they're not coming out, but they're not real difficult to put in either. So, so I was sort of in a hurry to do that, and I didn't care about the consistency, but looking at them now, I like the look of them. Like they're artisanal.
Yeah.
Is that a word?
It could be. Is it a word?
Yep.
Yeah, let's make it a word.
Okay.
It is now, baby.
It has been deemed artisanal as a word.
Yes. So there you go.
So we did have two questions from 3D Gusner in the chat. He asked if the design is in metric or standard, And also, he asked if you think you can hang the MPCNC like the Maslow CNC, the one that's sort of reminds you of like a Delta 3D printer. It basically hang pulleys up more or less.
I don't believe that you can hang it. It's like you mount it basically onto a tabletop and go from there. That's how you square everything. And I think it's designed to be rigid that way. I missed the first part of that question. Sorry, the metric and imperial.
Yeah, I think he's asking as far as like your cam design and everything. Are you doing that in metric or are you doing that in standard?
I do whatever. Like in Canada, we grow up in school. You learn metric. I'm an electrician in construction. Everything is imperial. So we do both, and I design both. Like I tend to do the 3D printing stuff in millimeters, and like all the wood that you buy in Canada is all, it's 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch plywood, or like you buy deck boards, they're 5 inch by whatever. So that's how I tend, if I'm doing something like a cut like this, my depth is generally in inches. So I don't know. I flip between them. My fusion is set to default to millimeters. But the nice thing with fusion, if you don't know this, you can even if your default is metric or imperial, you can just type the measurements in. Either way, you can even do math within fusion using different values, like or
Different functions.
Different functions. Yeah, like I can do 3 millimeters times 1 inch, and it'll figure it out. So.
Yeah, it gets occasionally will get picky depending on the order that you punch stuff in, like especially when you're mixing inches versus millimeters. But yeah, that is a cool feature. It doesn't matter which way you're actually going to output the file in metric or imperial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice feature. I make use of that from time to time. I have some designs that are half metric and half imperial.
Yeah. JT posted the Dropbox links there to the coaster I think I made for him. I don't know if you can open that, Matt.
I can.
But yeah, it's definitely useful for me because I'm buying wood in imperial and doing most of the design in metric. It's nice to be able to swap between the two, I guess. So,
yeah.
Oh yeah, and so Mike there. Never let the machines win. He says like buying small metric fasteners in Canada, it's really tough. Like, I know the MPCNC was built or designed, I think, with imperial things in mind. And Ryan at V1 Engineering has done a really good job of converting things to metric. But it was way cheaper for me to build it in like using imperial bolts than it was doing it in metric. So, but yeah, that was my laser there that cut that or that burnt that cork. So Sholm, you were asking about the cork. You can see how easy it is to work with. So that design there, I used a V-bit on my MPCNC. That was a dual cut there. Actually, there was 3 cuts on JT's coaster. So that's a piece of oak, and it was 3/4 inch thick. And I cut it down to about, I don't know, JT, what is it, like 3 millimeters maybe thick. And then I switched to a V-bit. I cut the design out, the face and lettering and the exterior. And then I switched back to an 1/8 inch end mill to cut the circle out. And then did the gluing and lasering on the back of that after that. So, yeah.
Very cool. Is there any other questions that anybody has for Terry? Anybody, any of the presenters have any questions? I don't believe there's any more in the chat, but
I'll hold it. I got one question.
Go ahead, Sean.
Just as someone who 85 to 95% of people botch my name all up, Is your name actually spelled that way, Terry?
Yeah, so I'm French. I was born in France. I moved to Canada when I was 4 or 5. So my name, the way you say my name is Thierry De. And actually the best
Is
JT,
what?
it's Thierry. You guys watch soccer at all?
Yes.
There's a really famous French soccer player, Thierry Henry. Well, Thierry, that's my first name.
Okay.
But I've been in Canada basically my whole life, and in Canada, you say Terry. So Terry. But yeah, it's spelled Thiery.
Do you
There you go.
play soccer?
No, but he's a famous soccer player, and he's got the same name. So there you go.
Do
It's
you,
not him. His name for him.
do you like fishing?
I
Do
love
you
fishing. I love fishing.
You ice fish?
I do. Yeah, I make
Walker to ice fishing. Nice segue.
I make ice fishing covers.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
there you go.
need to see those.
Yes, show us one.
Okay, hang on a sec. I'll see if I can grab one here. Just one sec.
Very nice segue, Sean. I was wondering where you were going with that.
I wasn't going anywhere. I just want to know if he fished because I fish, and he lives in Canada, and that's like prime fishing.
Someone's got Cliff Notes.
Yeah, so there you go. So this is something I designed, and I've sold tons of them. So they're it's made for an 8-inch ice auger, and they're basically, you cut your hole, you take this, you slap it on top, and then the next time you bend over to see if there's a fish inside, you got your cell phone in your pocket, it doesn't fall down the hole. Catches it right here. And then it's made so you can slip your line in and out without taking it out. And this is something else JT helped me with a lot. I talked to him quite a bit. But I got, like I said, I got a full-time job as an electrician. I do this for fun. And a friend of mine in town asked me to make this for him because he's got some kids. And first time he took it out, the kid dumped the tackle box and just saved the entire tackle box, which was good. And he posted it on some fishing forums, and all of a sudden my Facebook thing I sell prints on just went nuts. And that's all my printer printed for 3 months probably. And I had a guy out in Eastern Canada ask me if he could buy the design and have me manufacture it, and I don't know. That didn't turn out, but it was stressful. I don't know why. But yeah. There you go. So yeah, if you ice fish and you want to buy an ice auger cover, there you go.
Where can they buy it, Terry?
Pardon me?
I said I'll have to talk to you later. Oh, you? Is he talking to you? No one's talking.
Go ahead, Sean.
No, I don't want to go. You go.
Yeah, we got white stuff on the ground here. It's called sand. I'd much rather have that. Just saying.
So yeah, show them sitting there going, "What's ice fishing? What's ice?"
Yeah.
Right? I have to fill my ice trays. That's all I know.
I've seen ice one time. It melted in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Terry, where did you say people could buy those if they were interested?
I sell them on tv3dprinting.com. I didn't send you that. It just takes you to my Facebook page, but I don't have an Etsy store or anything. I'm very casual with it. I don't know. I sell parts to people in town, so I might sell 3 prints a month kind of thing, but those just were really popular. I shipped those all over Canada for a few months there, so yeah.
That's a really neat practical use. I mean, if Chris Russell Practical Printing was on, I'm sure he would be all over that one.
Yeah.
That's very neat.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if there are no other questions for Terry, Sean, did you have anything that you wanted to add to the conversation tonight at all?
Yeah, I guess I'll talk about what I'm working on. So it was a toss-up whether I was going to talk about it or not, because it's kind of preemptive of me to talk about it right now, since it's just in it's in the pre-planning phase, and it's not really well put together, which I don't like to present things if they're not well put together. But I'm just going to do it just because I'm going to. So accept it, guys. Sorry. So I have been rock climbing since 2011. So I've been climbing for a long time, and it is my zen. It's my, I'm away from everybody. I can collect my thoughts. I can climb, and I can get to the top of whatever rock face I'm on, and look out onto the land and just be overwhelmed with the beauty of nature and feel really connected with the earth. And I know it's real hippie to say, and it's, whoa, whatever, you're whatever, but it's that is the truth. It is my happy place. And I know, Carol, I am not well put together. You shush. So that's my thing, and I've kept that to myself for a long time, and it's what I like to do. And for probably about 4 years now, I've been trying to get something together with rock climbing, and then getting into 3D printing. I used to, I have an art and design background with college, and even before that, I grew up in a family of designers. Automotive designers, and so art has been like a thing in my life since I was born. So putting everything together and putting all my experiences and all of my my knowledge together, I really want to do something for climbing, and I've always wanted to do something. And so now I'm a part of this other community of climbers in Ohio. And there's just so many great things happening. People are going out in the Ohio Climbers Coalition, and they're picking up the forest and bolting routes to the rocks, and just making everything really beautiful, cleaning up the rivers and the water, getting all the trash out of everything. And it's a beautiful thing that these humans are doing. And I want to be a part of all of this more than I already am. So what I'm doing anyway, I'm gonna get to the schmutz real quick. I'm gonna get to the nitty gritty of the ditty ditty. So I have been trying to formulate and come up with some climbing holds to help gyms out. I want to start a foundation to donate to try to get more areas cleaned up and turned into parks, and try to help us get a place where everybody can go out, can go camping, can go enjoy themselves, kayaking, climbing, whatever you want to do. So I'm trying to start something, and I'm at nothing right. Well, I'm at something right now. And 3D printing is helping me. So I'm designing climbing holds, like this, in Fusion 360, and then going into ZBrush and adding textures. So I'll have some dual textured stuff coming out. I'll have some smooth stuff coming out. I'll have many different things, and all of them are representative of actual rock. It's not like a real rock casting, but it's close. It's still that free form grip. It's still that natural feel, without it actually looking like natural rock, because I think that's kind of boring. Because if you want to go climb natural rock, go climb natural rock. If you're going to a gym, you're going for many different reasons. You're not necessarily training for something, but a lot of people are training for something. So it's going to be a big mixture of stuff. And now climbing is going to hopefully be part of the Olympics, which is pretty neat. A lot of people look down upon that as like, listen, this isn't a sport. It's, something that we do because we connect with what we want to connect with, whatever that may be. There's a lot of new, like old climbing companies coming out with holds specifically for, competition climbing and bouldering and speed climbing and whatever it may be. Anyway, so back to what I'm doing. I'm working on a website. I've been working on some T-shirts and designs for T-shirts that I can sell and hopefully donate back to the community and to cleaning up the parks around here, because a lot of them have been overrun with bums and crackheads and crime, just high crime areas. And so getting rid of all that and getting it back to the roots of what it's supposed to be is very important to me. So I have some crimps which you can kind of get like a couple fingers on. I don't know if you can see that, but those are very common in natural rock. And then there's some other designs that I'm doing. So you can see, it's very curved on this end, but it's very sharp on this other end. So it's kind of hard to grab, and you have to kind of squeeze pretty hard. But when you're climbing, you're not trying to squeeze. You're trying to relax your whole arm and your muscles, and just let your skeleton hang off of that, and not put a lot of stress on your tendons and muscles in your wrist, and your arms and stuff. And then I have some footholds I'm working on. This was printed on the Moai 130. It was printed in SLA. So a lot of details are in here. All these holds are going to be printed in SLA and then casted in urethane. So you have those, and then some other ones, like this one. There's another little, could either be a foothold to put your foot on, or if you can get your meaty little grips on there, you could pull up, but there's just slight little details in there, little dips. So after all that, I also have T-shirts I'm going to do. Lots of T-shirts, coasters, beer koozies, just little lifestyle knickknack stuffs like that. This is not my design. This is someone else's design, but I wanted to print it and see how it worked. These are called stick clips. And so if you're sport climbing or lead climb, I guess for both. For sport and lead climbing is there's routes bolted into the wall, and they're on these little bolts. And you take your quick draw, which is one of these babies, and you hook them in like that, and that's what keeps you on the wall. And your rope goes through this other end like that as you're climbing up and up and up and up and up, and then if you fall, it catches you like that. So that's a style of climbing. And then also, there's trad and other styles. So anyway, so these stick clips hold in, because the first bolt is normally like 7-8 feet up, and a lot of parks now are like you have to rope in at that spot, because a lot of people have fallen, hit their heads on rock and bled out or whatever, gotten very, very hurt. So now it's some type of rule, apparently. So these stick clips help get that first bolt. So you put your quick draw in there, whoop, and it holds it like that. So, and then the other end is some type of pole, some type of extendable boom or whatever. And with that bolt up there, you clip it in. This design is pretty bad. So I'm redesigning it. But you clip it in and then you pull it, and it's in there with the rope already at the bottom. So you're already roped in when you're at the first one. So it's just a safety thing. It's something that's been implemented, and that's okay. But these aren't affordable. These are like $30-$40. And I think that's ridiculous, because I can 3D print it, and it takes nothing. So what I'm doing is redesigning it, making a better design, for this, something that fits all different types of carabiners, because carabiners come in all shapes and sizes. They're not a steady width. They're not a steady height. They're all weird. So you have two different styles right here, and you can see they're different. They're way different. So that's something I'm working on, and it's starting to gain some traction, but not as much as I would like. But I'm going to keep working at it. I'm still designing stuff. I'm still working on it. I have a buddy who's going to be casting it for me, and I have another buddy who's going to be doing the T-shirts for me. And so that's just where I'm at. That's what's happening with me right now. As a side project, is something fun to do and something to give back, and something that's needed, because it's going to be a local thing, and Ohio doesn't have any. We have REI. That's it. Like, that's all we have. We don't have a spot for climbers to go and hang out. We don't have, a shop. We don't have any of that. And I think that's needed around here, and it will boost morale of the city and of, those outdoors people that are adventurers, that climb, that do things. So that, I know it's boring. I rambled. That's just what I'm doing, and you're going to have to deal with it. I'm sorry. It's just the way the cookie crumbles.
I got a statement to throw back at you.
All right.
So that's your passion, and it's super cool that you're doing that. I'm going to turn it into a question now too. But yeah, you said it's not really taken off like you wanted, but I think that's the cool thing with the 3D printing, right? You're designing something that you're passionate about, you're making it better, and you throw it out there, and then yeah, you keep making it better, and all of a sudden it takes off because somebody else sees how much cooler a product you have. But the question I have is, if you thought, I got two little kids, I got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I keep thinking about building them just like a play center in the house. But man, that stuff would be awesome for them, I think. Like you build some not real high stuff, but just getting them interested in that. You thought about design stuff for little kids or play centers, that kind of thing, or?
Yeah. So this is just one. This is just going to be one thing I'm doing. This is for, like, intermediate. Just getting into climbing to, for adult gyms. This is what these are for. They're for adult gyms. But I am working on. I'm not working right now, but I am going to be working on a set for kids, for home walls or whatever. And it's not
awesome.
going to be so much different. It's just the colors are going to be probably more vibrant. And there's not going to be little tiny pinches or 2-finger holds, nothing crazy where you need
something fun to get them into it.
Yeah, but just something fun, something with like big round knobs they can just like grab on and climb up.
And so you're thinking, so you're talking casting, from SLA prints. You ever thought about having like 3D printable stuff? Because I mean, a kid isn't going to break a 3D print likely. I don't know a whole lot about climbing, but is that sort of an option too, or?
It could be. I need to test it. So I will be probably next month. I'll be talking to one of the free walls here in Columbus. It's ran by the state park, the Columbus State Park. It's a metro park. So it's free to go to this wall and climb and whatever, but there's been like no maintenance. It's been crud. It's been horrible. So I'm talking to them, and I'm going to start trying to get people to see if I can, take a wall for myself to actually bolt up 3D printed parts, 3D printed holds, and see how long they last. That's going to be a real tough thing to do, but I got to convince them the best I can. So I got to come up with a strategy for that, but I need to figure out how long they last and guarantee that, because if somebody breaks, if it delaminates at some point because it's out in the hot sun or whatever, someone's going to get hurt, and that's not okay. So I have to figure that out. I need to stress test it. I need to climb on it for months and months on end, and with adults to see, how it can take the stress of people being pretty, violent on them.
Give it a day with me.
One of the questions that we had, JT was asking the bolts that go through the holds, how they're supported. Like, what do they actually bolt into when you're like at the gym and stuff?
So this is the bolt. It goes in through the front. There's a washer that's built in, and not on the 3D print, but in the casting, there'll be a washer inside, some type of metal washer that this seats on inside of the mold. So on the other end, there's a T-nut, and that T-nut goes through that piece of plywood that you're drilling holes in, in a grid pattern. So this will screw into that T-nut and pull that T-nut into that piece of wood and pretty much just sandwich it. And then for bigger holds, it's more important to have a screw hole so you can drill one side of it in so it doesn't start spinning on you. Because after a while, it'll start wearing down. It'll start getting very slippery in the back. The traction on this and the wall and the T-nut wears out. Everything wears out. So that screw pretty much just cuts down on maintenance, but it does put a hole straight through your wall. So that's another thing. The whole industry is really weird because some people put them in, some people don't, some people like them, some people don't like them. So a lot of companies now do put that hole in there, but you don't have to use them for that screw to go through. So to answer your question, it's this, boop, and then you got your wall, and then you got your T-nut, and this screws into the T-nut, and it's a suction fit. It's a pressure fit.
To build on that a little bit, Sean, like Terry said about possibly building a wall for his kids, do you know what's the recommended type of plywood to use for that? Like, you
really
probably
depends.
use
It's like
something like an MDF or something like that that's particle. Like,
no particle, like actual plywood. Hold on.
I was just curious for anybody who you might have given the idea to, just so they have a better idea of what they should build it out of.
Yeah. So hold on, let me pull up some plans real quick. There's a lot of different ways to make it. But you definitely want to use actual plywood. I'm going to share this link. I just want to share this link.
Yep.
So there's correct information. So well, let me post this.
While you're doing that too, Sean, you had mentioned that a lot of the climbers, one of the things that they've been doing is the areas that they climb in, the parks, the mountains, whatever, cleaning up the area as they go. An idea for you, something that you might think about doing. What about doing like a coin or something that like they can post? I'm sure there's probably Facebook groups or whatever, online communities that they could post like pictures of the before and after they came, and you could send out a coin to them as kind of like a medal for doing what they do.
Can you say that one more time? Sorry. I'm sorry. That was a lot, but I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I was saying about, you had mentioned that a lot of the climbers are, when they're going out to an area, they're not only going out and climbing, but they're cleaning the area up as well, picking up trash and stuff like that. Have you thought about doing something like a 3D printed coin that on the online communities and stuff that they could post pictures before and after? And if they do that, you send them out a coin for cleaning up the area, kind of as just something neat, a trinket type of deal. But
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. I didn't think about that. But yeah, I think that's something that could be done since I have 3D printers and filament to run through them. Like, I think that's a great thing. And I think people will like that. And I think that's like a morale type deal, right? Where, oh, you get a little gold star for cleaning up when you should be cleaning up anyway. But yeah, I think that's great. I think that's a motivator. And that definitely could be, a reward for cleaning up. Especially, once I get the website down, because I have a group of friends that are helping me as well. And we're all pretty much in this together. And I think, once the foundation is set, once that website's made and those renders are up and, the product photos are up, and our mission statement of like, hey, we want to donate a percentage of what we're doing back to the fund to keep this going, because honestly, like, a lot of people are selfish, and it really sucks. It's a horrible thing, and people don't do it unless they get something out of it. And that's just the reality we live in, and it's horrible. So I think what you're saying with this coin is a good idea to keep people motivated and, have different levels. Like, if you, pick up 5 times, you come out 5 times to help us, you get this coin. Like AA, like the same thing with AA. Like, people in AA and some people who need to be in AA will, like, oh, I get a little coin to say I should be doing something that I'm already, know I should be doing. Like, it's the same thing, and I like the way you're going with this. And I think
a lot of climbers that I've seen, like, on their gear bags and stuff, they like to have like different keychains, and I've seen climbers that, different rock faces that they've climbed and stuff, they have a keychain for it, and it's just something, another one to add to the collection. Like, you could do a coin that can also double as a keychain type of deal.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because I know I have patches from like Yosemite when I've gone to Yosemite and Moab and like all these other places. Like, I do collect patches from there, and I do have little tacks that go into my walking stick that I don't use. It's just up on the wall, and I just stick it with all these tacks that I buy at the trinket store at Yosemite or whatever. And I think it's cool because it's like a recollection. Like, I can look at it and I can recollect, like, I can remember that memory of, hey man, I climbed that wall. Hey man, I thought about doing this, but I didn't do it because whatever. And like, or, just something funny.
That Ryan Crames there had a good idea there to send him that carabiner thing that you're working on, rather than a maker coin, something that they would use.
Send Ryan? I ain't sending Ryan nothing.
No, he was saying,
No.
I'm just joking, Ryan. He lives like right down the street from me.
He was saying about sending out the carabiner doohickey, as he put it. Instead of the
stick clip?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maker coin is cheaper.
Well, and what I was thinking with that is, so like
at a level. Like, I'm sorry, I interrupted. Keep going.
No, what I was gonna say is, with the coins or the coin / keychain idea, you don't necessarily have to be the only one printing them too. You could have different people all over the place printing them, so that your local climbing community, like, you'd be handing them out to them. You wouldn't necessarily have the shipping costs and stuff like that involved too.
I see. And then it could be like a big thing where it goes to different, like, everywhere, like Colorado or Utah or whatever people, have. I mean, it's everywhere. It's not just in Ohio. Ohio just really is horrible, like, just in general. But like for cleaning up and stuff, it could be, a worldly or continentally, localized thing. And I think those coins would be really cool. And even, especially if people like donated them, to certain areas. Like if you live in Colorado, donate to your local place, or if you live, in wherever,
Yep.
New York. New York has some great climbing out there.
Yeah, and you could kind of do like a base coin and then have like allow customization to it or something like that for the different
Right.
areas. Or
Yeah, and then just
No.
throw it on Thingiverse or the new Prusa stuffs and have people print them and send them to wherever they need to go. I think that would be really cool.
All right, gentlemen. Not to cut Sean off, Sean, that your project is, I think, is awesome. You answered a lot of questions in the chat initially when you were talking about it. A lot of people were saying, "Aren't you worried about the strength of it or being too slippery and things like that?" And you said about that the final version will be cast in a polyurethane to give it additional strength, at least for now, until you can do some extended testing on straight 3D printed parts.
Yeah.
But I know you kind of pushed it off as, boring topic. Nobody's really interested, but you had the interest of the chat the entire time. So
That's good to hear.
it is now just past the 2-hour mark, probably about the 2-hour mark from when we started. So in case anybody needs to go, let's go ahead and run through outros and give all the presenters a chance to tell everybody where to find them, how to support them, where you can find their designs, whatever you guys feel like sharing, go for it. We'll start off with Mike.
Like I said before, you can find me on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram, barely nowadays, so I'll be going back on that soon. Thingiverse and my mini factory include 2 places I upload all my files. And if you ever need to communicate with me, you can just hook me up on Messenger on there.
And Mike, you'll be at EARTH 2019 in 2 months.
Yes, I'll be in the prop and maker area. I'll be on display. You can't miss my display. Don't worry.
All right. Thanks, Mike, for joining us tonight on the first show and tell.
No problem.
All right. Next up, we've got Ryan. You're still muted, Ryan.
Had to find the mouse. I'm Ryan, Mr. Buttram, everywhere. I'm on Twitter mostly. What else? Be on the lookout if we do have parts that don't get printed. I'll post it on Twitter. What else? I think that's about it. I do have the YouTube Saturday Night Makers on my YouTube channel. There will be one tomorrow night, 9 to whenever we're done chatting it up. It's all about different things. So it might not be 3D printing. It might be MPCNC. It might be any regular CNC or just whatever. So kind of informal. So that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Thank you for joining us on the first show and tell.
Yep. Thank you.
Next up, we've got Sean.
All right, I'm up again. Wasn't prepared, but anyhow, same spiel. You can find us YouTube, Twitter, PM us. You got an idea you want to bring to life? That's what we do. Had a good time here. Really glad to be a part of the first show and tell for the Friday night 3D printing community hangout stream. Wow, I got that all out in one breath.
You did better than most do. All right. Next up, we've got Terry.
Yeah, so I'm Terry. I'm really only on Twitter. You can look at td3dprinting.com if you want. That's my Facebook page, but nothing real interesting on there. I try to post most of my prints or what I'm doing on my MPCNC. Yeah, Terry on Twitter.
All right. Thank you for joining us tonight, Terry.
Yeah, thanks
And
for having me.
we've got Sean. You, Sean. You're muted.
I don't think he has his hearing aid in.
No, you.
You. Yeah, I thought it was me earlier too. It's you.
No, it's me. That's what I said. He doesn't have his hearing aid in. Hi, I'm Sean. I don't have my hearing aid in. Woo! You can find me pretty much everywhere as Art Mods or Art Mods Official on Instagram. That's the only difference there. Or I guess you can find me as Shawnanigans on YouTube. But don't go to my channel. It's absolutely horrible. So I think, yeah. Thank you all for joining us. This has been a fantastic night. Everyone has presented something really cool. I'm very impressed with everybody, everybody's projects on here tonight. Thanks for having me as a co-host, Matt. This is one of the funnest nights that I have is being on a stream because my day consists of nothing. Like a pretty pathetic life. Let's not. Anyway, so this has been really fun for me. And y'all have been very great tonight, asking great questions, being very interactive. And this community is fantastic. You all have blown me away day after day watching you on Twitter and Instagram and on all the social media stuff. Even though I don't comment, I see everything you post. Everything. So I just want to say thanks for everything to the whole community. Like you all have done fantastic and keep doing great things. You're going to change the world.
Especially us with no life sitting here on Friday night.
Thanks, Sean, for joining, and thanks for co-hosting. Thank you again to all of our presenters for coming on the very first ever F3D PCH show and tell. I actually thought that we weren't going to be able to fill the full 2 hours with just having a few people on, but you guys did it. You kept the chat entertained, and everybody was interested in all the projects that we talked about tonight. So I'm really thrilled with how the first show and tell went. If you missed signing up for this show and tell, and you would like to sign up for a future show and tell, we're going to be doing these once a month for the US streams. The next one will be August 23rd will be the next show and tell. The next US Friday 3D printing community hangout will be August 9th at 10 p.m. Eastern, and that's going to be featuring BuildTak. Kayla from BuildTak's coming on. So if you ever had any questions about the BuildTak, the original BuildTak surface, the new BuildTak PEI surface, or the BuildTak spatula, or anything else that BuildTak carries, Kayla's going to be on. She'll be able to answer your questions. It's a good time to ask questions about bed leveling with BuildTak surfaces and what they recommend for print temperatures, things like that, and different materials. So join us August 9th. And if you would like to sign up for a future show and tell, like I said, the next one's going to be August 23rd at 10 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f3dpch.com/show and tell, or just go to f3dpch.com, click on the menu, and click on show and tell. From there, you can fill out the form. And actually, during the stream, I added the dates for August, September, and October. So you can select a future stream and not necessarily the next one. So go fill that out. If you'd like to show off a project, it doesn't even have to be a completed project. It can be a work in progress. It can be a technique if you want to show off how to do something in modeling and slicing. Show off your tips and secrets that you've come up with over the years. Or if you're working on a project or releasing a project that you'd like to show off, feel free to sign up and come on. We will start to limit those if we get too many people coming on, and ask people to wait till the next time if we have too many people signing up. But it'll be first come, first serve, more or less. So thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight for the Friday 3D Printing Community Hangout. We will be at EARTH 2019 in October. I believe we're actually going to be right beside Mike again like we were last year. Chris can correct me later if I'm wrong on that one. But we will have the community print back here behind me that we put together last year that a lot of you helped print pieces for. And Ryan, we may do some talking about maybe getting Mike's coin to EARTH as well. So thank you again to all of our presenters. I loved seeing all your projects, and looks like the chat really liked seeing your projects as well and getting to ask you questions. So from all of us at the Friday 3D Printing Community Hangout, we'd like to thank everybody one last time, and have a good weekend, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.
See ya.